This next high mileage Ram episode brought to you by Real Truck. If you don't mind, stick around to the end of the video. I've got some more information I want to share with you. Welcome back to Truck Central. I am Mr. Justin Wheeler, and this is my 2019 Ram 1500 Limited High Mileage Edition. Now, while we're on the topic of the 150,000 mile kind of benchmark that we are currently at, I thought it would be a good time to kind of circle back and make a comprehensive guide or a comprehensive report on all the problems, everything that's broken on this truck from day one until now. Now, some of these problems are what I would consider manufacturer defects or manufacturer issues that would be covered under warranty. Some of these things are either something that wouldn't be covered under warranties, things that have broken, and then there are some things that haven't broken on this truck but have broken for other 5th gen Ram users, and then I just haven't experienced that yet, but I'll cover that too. So it'll kind of be a 3-part video. What I'm hoping to achieve here is to be kind of a reference for current and future Ram truck owners so that they know what they might be able to expect if they're to go out and buy either a new Ram, a lightly used Ram, or a high mileage Ram. Now, admittedly, there's not going to be very many high mileage Rams on the used market today. You might see a couple with 100,000 miles, but you're not going to see any really with over 150. But a year or two from now, this might be a good, like I said, reference to come back to kind of see what can you expect to fail, what has failed for me, and I abuse this thing, and what has failed for others. We'll go over what has happened to me specifically, and then we'll talk about a couple of the other oddball things. So the first problem that I really dealt with happened to me about the 15,000 mile mark. Ooh, tree branches. If you remember the 50K review video, and actually it was the first video on this channel, I talked about the steering nut. And the steering nut, my goodness, that was back in February of 2020. So it's been a while, but it was the first thing that happened. And what the problem was, when I would turn at usually more at lower speeds, but it kind of shifted. Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it was slow. Anyway, I would steer and there'd be a popping or grinding sound out of my steering. And I couldn't really place it. Took it to the dealership multiple times. The first 2 times I dropped it off at the dealer, they said that they could not replicate the problem and there was nothing wrong. Boy, that's frustrating. The 3rd time I took it in, they said, "Oh, wow, there is something wrong. We fixed it." I said, "Awesome, thank you." 2,000 miles later, the issue came back. Now, this whole drop-off, pickup 4 times over, this went from around 15,000 miles all the way up to about 45,000 miles. And I know that sounds like I really let that problem extend out longer than I should have, but that was only over the course of a few months. And it's really hard for me to get into the dealer and drop this thing off, especially if it's not like a critical problem. It's a weird popping sound. So anyway, got it in. The 4th time was the charm. They fixed it. They called it a steering gear one time. One time they called it a steering nut. Not really sure, but I do know that after looking at the comments you guys left and seeing some mentions of it on the forum, it is not that uncommon of a problem. So that happened. Around that same time, and actually concurrent to one of those trips to the dealer for the steering nut problem, was, what did we call it? Oh, it was the climate controlled seat. So I think the 3rd time I dropped it off for the steering nut, I noticed it had started to get hot outside. It was coming spring, early summer, and I noticed that the seat was not blowing nearly as hard. The fan wasn't blowing as well as in the passenger seat, and I knew it definitely wasn't blowing as well as it did in my 4th gen Laramie. So drop that off. And they said that it was, and here's my stack of dealer warranty work receipts. On that specific occasion, they said that there was a loose connector that had to be reconnected. Now, I don't know if they mean electrical connector. I bet they mean some sort of HVAC plumbing type airflow connector wasn't tight. Not sure. I don't know how that comes loose, but just remember that if you get one of these trucks and it doesn't feel like it's blowing right, there may be something loose under the seat. So after that problem, we went months without any issues. In fact, we got up into the 90,000 mile range, really close to the end of the extended warranty. And luckily enough, it had started to get cold. And that's when I noticed, the real common problem that you guys are probably already thinking of, and that is the exhaust manifolds were cracked. And it's much easier to observe that when it's cold outside. So we took that in. We got both exhaust manifolds replaced. That was a $1,200 repair. That wasn't a big deal. We kind of expected it. My 4th gen had the exhaust manifold studs that were broken. And it's just one of those things that, you kind of expect. Wasn't a big deal. I got it covered under warranty. If you have the extended warranty, that is covered. And I would expect it. If you have to have both replaced, it's going to be at least $1,200. I actually thought I got a decent deal on that. So the exhaust manifold problem wasn't a real big deal to me. Obviously, it was free. It didn't really hurt anything. It just sounds terrible. They replaced it. But, they put on the same OEM parts, and you wonder, how long is this really going to last? Not really sure. But anyway, it was a free repair, so awesome, right? Not long after the exhaust manifold fix, we had another problem. I guess this was about the 99,000 mile mark. Like, I had barely any time left or any miles left on my extended warranty. It was pretty lucky that this problem happened when it did. And the connector on the top of the fuel pump broke. And what that means is, essentially, I was just dumping fuel on the ground underneath the truck right off the top side of the fuel tank. And of course, that's only when it's running. When the pump is energized, it's just blowing fuel out of that crack. That was fixed. I think that was a little bit cheaper of a repair. That was $160, $175 for the part, $300 for the work. So it was about a $500 repair. I still don't know. I feel like that was kind of more of a fluke deal, or maybe just a result of how I beat on this old girl. Because I don't think anybody else has said that they've had to have the fuel pump replaced. But you never know. So if you have seen or heard or have had that happen, it'd be nice to know that maybe it wasn't just me. Maybe this is a more common problem. And that is truly the extent of the work that had to be done at the dealer. So, I had 8 appointments and one of those appointments was for 2 separate items. But really, a lot of it was the steering nut. That wasn't critical. Or I don't want to say it wasn't critical, but it wasn't like a leave you stranded type of problem. The exhaust manifold, same thing. The fuel leak was probably, in my opinion, the most serious problem that I've had with this truck so far. It was a relatively inexpensive fix, and it was fixed within a couple hours. I dropped it off without an appointment at the dealership, and they had me turned around. All in all, I think the extended warranty probably saved me a little bit of money. I paid a little less than $2,000 for the extended warranty when I bought it new, and I definitely had more than $2,000 worth of work done, plus the peace of mind it gave. So that was nice. Now let's talk about the stuff that is not covered under warranty. The stuff that has happened either after or that just didn't get done. I've had a couple little plastic clips on the center console broke. That was early on. Not a major deal, but it's something to keep in mind. The only other thing on this truck that is broken, that isn't my fault, because sometimes I just break things, but it's not the fault of the truck, and it's really not even the fault of the truck, is the windshield. Everybody gripes about how low quality the glass is on the windshield. I have fixed probably close to 10 rock chips in this windshield, and I am currently living with a pretty nasty crack right through the top left side of the windshield, right in front of my view. And these are expensive to replace. To get an OEM factory windshield where I'm at is $1,000, and I've called around, and that's just the price. And I will get it replaced, but we are coming up on tornado season in central Oklahoma, and I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a windshield when I know we have tornadoes and hail and probably 2x4s that are going to be rolling through this place at a moment's notice. So I'm going to get that replaced, but it is kind of a bummer that the glass is so delicate. It's fragile. And I know that seems like common sense, but I've never had another truck, and I put lots of miles on lots of trucks, and this one has had more glass damage than any other. So keep that in mind. And those are the only two things that have really broken on this truck that haven't been covered under warranty. I will mention real quick, and it wasn't a failure. There was a video we did earlier last year where the air ride quit working because it got so cold. It got to negative 10 degrees outside, and yes, the air ride suspension, it didn't break, but it went into a safety protection mode to keep the compressor from overheating. So it did what it was designed to do, but we did hit its operational range. And it was just too cold. The compressor was overheating, but it shut down, it cooled off, then it worked fine. Literally the only day that it's ever done that was the coldest day in recorded Oklahoma history. So I'm not faulting the Ram for that, but it is nice to know, or it is good to know, that there is a limit to where you can use that. At some point, the compressor is gonna meet its match, I guess. So that's pretty much it. Other than the AC not working well, I guess you could classify that as broken because it clearly doesn't work well. I've tried to take it to the dealer more than once. Others have taken their trucks into some dealers and gotten their problem fixed. I have not had the same luck. And all dealers are different. Some of them are going to take care of you and some of them are going to fight you. And that's just the way it is. But it does work. It just doesn't work as good as it should. So I'm not going to say it's broken, but it could be better. And there definitely have been some public releases about defects with the system. And dealers should fix them. And I'm going to talk to my dealer this summer. I'm not covered under warranty anymore, so I don't know how motivated I'm going to be to track that down. But if you are still under your existing warranty or your extended warranty, and you have a dealer that will work with you, take it in, because if your AC sucks like this one does, you should be able to get that fixed. All right, so that really wraps up all my gripes. And I feel like a real negative Nancy right now, because usually all I do is talk about all the good things, but every once in a while, you got to kind of let it out. And that's what we're doing in this video. So the things that have happened to others that haven't happened to me, I think one of the biggest problems, or one of the most common problems, is the leaking sunroof. We've had, I don't know, lots. I was going to say hundreds. It probably hasn't been hundreds. But on almost every video where I talk about how it's holding up, when I talk about the sunroof, multiple people always chime in and say, hey, my sunroof's leaking. Is your sunroof leaking? We've taken it to the dealer. It's a very, very, very common problem. I have not had that issue, but keep in mind, if you go look at a used Ram, take it to the car wash and make sure the sunroof doesn't leak. And if it does, get them to fix it before you buy it. Another thing is the back glass, the trim that goes around, they crack a lot. And mine is fine, but you can tell that it's stressed. Like it's discolored where a lot of them have cracked. I don't know how mine is hung on, but just barely. I'm looking at it close now. Is that thing cracked? You better not be cracked. I'm going to get back there in a minute. But that's another thing. The back glass trim cracks, and I think that leads to leaks for some people. No leaks on the inside of this thing, luckily. And really, those are the biggest problems. Exhaust manifolds, sunroof leaking, back trim cracked. I've got the fuel pump issue. The steering nut thing is a pretty common occurrence. And I know that there are others who have some glitching screen problems. My display, the touchscreen, the infotainment, whatever you want to call it, has been really, really good. And I try to keep very good records for you guys. It's a lot easier when you have this built-in file cabinet. And we'll keep you posted. Luckily, the last 50,000 miles, over 50,000, close to 60,000 miles, have been completely worry-free. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's as bad as it gets. For the most part, this is a rock-solid platform. It's got a few weak links, a few Achilles heels, if you will, but it's nothing major. Overall, great truck. If there's something I forgot to mention or something that I just haven't heard about, please leave a comment down below. I look forward to talking to you. One final thank you again to realtruck.com for sponsoring this video, as well as all the parts that we have installed. You can find the links to those videos in the playlist. As always, thanks for watching.